Hey, this is your disguised social studies teacher. I won't even tell you my name, but notice I am a bandito, the social studies bandito. That is who I am. Got my little football hat going on here, got my mask going on. It is perfect. Today we're going to be learning about the city-states of Mesopotamia. Let's keep trucking and see what else they have to say and teach us. First off, geography, location. Uh, the area we're talking about is the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. See the Persian Gulf's off here to the right, Mediterranean Sea's off here to the left. We have the countries of Arabia, the modern day countries of Arabia, Israel, Syria, Jordan, Iran, stuff like that. Now, this is known as the Fertile Crescent. You can kind of see this highlighted green area right here. And what made it fertile is the two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. This is where society and civilization starts on these two rivers. They start in the Middle East, in the area where we say terrorists come from today. Now, environmental challenges that they had to deal with during this time. So first off, about 3,300 BCE, the Sumerians arrived in this area. Do some quick math. About how long ago is that? Let's see, 3,300, take that to zero, so that's 3,300. Add 2,020 years to that, so that's, 5,320 years ago. So that's a long time ago we're talking about. Some of the things that they had to deal with of this area. One, unpredictable flooding and drought. They would get rain seasonally, and then they wouldn't get any rain at all. There are no natural barriers here. It's pretty flat, kind of scrubby kind of land. Nothing that people could, use to be like, oh, I'm safe now. And last, they didn't have any building materials. They didn't have huge, tall trees like, I don't know, like the Scandinavian Norsemen did as they would build their ships. They just didn't have that advantage. So they had to create solutions, all right? First off, they dug a ditch. They took a ditch from, they dug a ditch from their field to the Tigris River and then knocked through the river and then it, helped irrigate their field. They built city walls out of mud bricks. And then to get those raw materials they needed, what they did is they traded their grain, their cloth, and their tools that they made for the raw materials to make more grain, to make more cloth, tools, and everything to keep their trade going. Now, Sumerians created city-states. This is civilization as we basically know it, all right? This is where it all kind of comes from. This civilization, they had 5 qualities, all right? 1, they had advanced cities, all right? These are self-governing cities. 2, they got special workers. 3, they got complex institutions, basically laws and stuff. 4, they got record keeping, that means writing. And 5, they have improved technology. What they did was they created city-states, all right? About 3000 BC, they started to make these places. And go ahead and write down city-states. They have the same culture, but the key is they have their own government and their own resources. Examples in Western Europe. Venice is a classic example of a city-state. The Pope, Vatican City, is still a city-state today. Now, in these city-states, at the start, priests controlled them. During times of peace. When war would start going on, they'd find the best warrior and be like, all right, you're now in charge of the military. But then this leads to some issues that are coming. These priests, they had temples. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit so you can see that. And that is on the right here. This is called a ziggurat. And this temple would be to one of their gods, and then the priests would rule from there. But the rulers, what they would do is they would have power in time of war, give it up. But then some guys were like, I like being in charge. And so after they stayed in charge for a while, they'd be like, hey, son, you got it now. Now, all of these Sumerian cities, they would, as they traded, they would give ideas to each other. One city, they invent the wheel. They make a cart and they carry their cloth to another city. And one guy says, "Well, son, how'd you do that?" And then they explain it, and then that's how it gets passed on. So that's cultural diffusion. If you think about our world today, we have tons of cultural diffusion. Our taste in music, ideas that we have, the internet that we're doing this stuff on. I mean, you can make anything anywhere in the world as long as you got, the internet and the ability to get products shipped to you. All right, Sumerian culture. Okay, first off, they got gods, but their gods are it's polytheism. Okay. All right, so they had multiple gods. This is really similar. It's the precursor of Greek gods, is what it comes down to. They're like humans. Like they're the god of their era is basically like Zeus. They're immortal. They have kids. They act like us. But humans are at the whim of the gods. Humans would make sacrifices to them, all of those different things. Now, one of the coolest parts of Mesopotamia and the Sumerian culture is the Epic of Gilgamesh. We're going to watch a crash course history about that one. But what I want you guys to realize for this one, this is the first written down story of a hero. And the journey of a hero, what the hero goes through to get that. And all cultures have aspects of this today. Now, life in a Sumerian society. First off, we got, divisions of people. First, you got your high class, right? Kings, landowners, priests. Then after that, we got the middle class. And these guys are the wealthy merchants, all right? Then after that, you got your average Joes, the people who work the fields, who work in the shop. Not the owner of the shop, but the guy who makes the shoes, all of those people. Now, the Sumerians, they had slaves. They're the lowest. Then you had women. And women in Sumerian society, they had more rights than at times than women have had in Western society. They could work. They could own their own land. Some of them were able to get educated. Off over here to the right is an example of some of their writing that we got right there. Now, science and technology. The Sumerians are kind of known for, they get credit for several stuff. They might not have done it, but they're the people who wrote down that, hey, we did it. Inventions. 1, the wheel. 2, the sail. 3, the plow. And last, they were some of the first people to also use bronze. Something else they also created, arithmetic and geometry. What do they need that for? So that they could build cities, right? They could make, things grow. What's interesting, they did their system based in 60. And if you think about how that translates today, why do we got 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour? It has to deal with the Sumerians. Same with the idea of 360 degrees. They made stuff go that way. You got architecture. They did arches, columns, ramps. They did the ziggurat, which is the precursor of a full-out pyramid. And then they had a writing style called cuneiform, right? To be able to send messages back and forth, allows them to get their business done, allows them to build laws, systems of government, religion. All of those things have to be in there to have that happen. Now, the first empire builders are, the Sumerians in Mesopotamia. So from about 3000 BC to 2000 BC, the city-states are at war. And then we have a guy by the name of Sargon of Akkad who sweeps in and attacks all the city-states as they are weak from fighting each other. And they already had the Sumerian culture through cultural diffusion. And he brings them all together. As that happens, he's in power for a little bit, and then we get what is called the Babylonian Empire, who is led by a man by the name of Hammurabi. All right, and this is Hammurabi, down here, I'll use the cursor instead of my finger because you guys can't see that. You can see Sargon, his little empire that he has kind of here. This is Iran, modern day Syria, a little bit of Israel. But let's get back to Hammurabi. So he is an Amorite who comes from up here, and they sweep down and in, and they take over. Hammurabi he's a good military leader, a great diplomat, all of these things. But what he really does is he creates Hammurabi's code. Okay, and here is the code listed. Has 282 laws in it. Why is it significant? First, it dealt with everything. But why is it the most important thing is it's our first set of codified laws. And this is huge. This is how we can say, like, oh, where does this law come from? Well, we can say it's Hammurabi. You ever heard of the term an eye for an eye? That comes from Hammurabi's code. So it dealt with everything. It dealt with family, business, crime, property damage. It dealt with how women and children were treated. Where it gets a little off is it set punishment for rich and poor and for men and women at different levels. It was like, oh, if you're like a slave, you are not getting treated the same as like a shop owner. But its biggest key, and why I think it's important, is that it creates this principle that government is responsible for its citizens. I'm going to read you a quote from like the preamble, the prologue of it. It says, to bring about the rule of righteousness in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evildoers, so that the strong should not harm the weak. And that is what Hammurabi's code does. Hope you enjoy this. Make sure you guys take notes on it. Keep checking your Google Classroom as you get more information for world history about what to do. And I will see you in class. Later.